Hi everyone, it's that Pete guy here with a new video this week that isn't the video that I wanted it to be. I wanted to do another video with the Akai MPC Live, talk through it a bit like I did the Novation, and there'll be more videos on the Novation circuit soon as well as videos on the MPC Live, but this week I am now unable to do the MPC Live video I wanted to do on the basis that I went to pick up a load of vinyl records, and in doing so quite badly injured my wrist to the extent that I need to rest it and not put too much pressure or rotate it too much. So if you see me rotating my wrist too much in this video, write a comment and say, hold on, you're injuring your wrist there, you need to slow down with your right wrist flicks. So because I wanted to collect vinyls to sample, and I did so with such vigour, I injured my wrist. It meant that I'm now not able to sample for a few days anyway. So just to play it safe, I'm resisting the temptation to get bashing on the old MPC pads, and as such you've got a video of me just talking to you instead. So what I thought I'd talk about is why you should make music for a hobby, or at least why I do it. I think the people who are going to be interested in this video are existing bedroom producers, songwriters, people who play an instrument, who might be starting to put together their own compositions, and kind of everyone in between. And also people who aren't necessarily doing it yet but are interested in writing their own music. I'm not going to go into all the numerous ways of how to do that today because I want to keep it short and sweet, and there will be videos about different ways of getting into writing music and producing music particularly. But for today, I'm just going to talk about why I think it is a good thing to do and why I do it. This doesn't apply to anyone who is trying to make it in the traditional sense of music, that being, I guess, going professional and having a steady regular income. It is definitely an achievable goal, but it's just not a goal that I'm aspiring towards. So there will be other people on YouTube and throughout the world who have actually managed to achieve that and will be able to tell you how they did it and give you advice on that. I cannot do that, but what I can give you advice on is, or at least information on, is the benefits of being a bedroom producer or musician. So, why do it for a hobby? Well, why would you do anything for a hobby? Why ride a bike or bake or, write or make videos, which I also do for a hobby? They're all for the same reason, really. Even if you love your work, assuming you're doing a kind of regular 9 to 5 or whatever it is that you're doing in your work, unless your work is music, and you're interested in music, there is going to be a gap, which is good. This is what that is going to fill, creating music. So the health benefits there are generally mental, in the old brain box. So music can release endorphins. There's loads of studies into the mental health benefits of not just making music, but I think predominantly listening to music. But those people who are into music, they have you may well be able to uncover some skills or affinity into making music if you spent enough time listening to it. That's where most people's interest comes from. It's interesting because not everyone has this kind of emotional relationship with music. There's lots of studies on it. I'm not an expert. I've only recently just Googled it out of genuine intrigue that some people can be emotionally affected by music in very different ways. More than just saying, oh, this song is sad, it makes me feel sad. Some people can be in awe of music in ways that others can't, and they will have an emotional reaction on the kind of beauty rather than just the emotion that is conveyed. And if you're one of those people, making music is a brilliant outlet. Not only can you use it to portray how you're feeling and your emotions, but you can use it as a way to actually change your emotions. There have been songs that I have written when I'm feeling rubbish, albeit this is a few years back, but there's songs when I was feeling incredibly hungover and feeling awful, and I set out to write something happy and uplifting, and it made me feel better because those endorphins start coming and things start rolling and you start feeling in the groove of something. So expressing yourself is a great way of spending time outside of your work, some leisure time that you can spend on yourself and getting to know yourself better. I don't want to get too deep in getting to know yourself better. The best way for you to do that is to do this kind of thing. Another reason why not to try and do it for a kind of professional reason is that, especially in a kind of mainstream kind of level of success, is that personally, and with a lot of people I know, the songs that really affect me emotionally, that I have an emotional connection with beyond the sensations that it makes me feel, I have a kind of affinity for, I feel almost a bit of ownership of, are songs by artists that aren't known by millions. Yes, they might be known by many thousands of people, but knowing that they are not the multi-million selling artists makes me feel a little bit more invested in the music itself. So I think that the more people making this, any kind of music, that people can find, you never know what other people are going to find in your music and what they're going to take away from it. And the fact is that songs that myself and maybe my partners, that was a stupid thing to say, it sounds like I've got loads of girlfriends or boyfriends. I don't. I've got one girlfriend. We have songs that we like that weren't majorly successful, or they aren't by major artists that are shared as songs with millions of other people, and that just makes things a little bit more special. And you never know who's going to pick up your music and find it. The other thing is that even with groups of friends, you always have music that you are into, and actually the lesser known artists, the ones that you can introduce to people, they're the ones that people grasp onto because they feel a little bit of ownership of them. So if you're making music, you're essentially allowing yourself to be that. The other thing is that if you are a music hobbyist, you can never really be accused of selling out. So there's an advantage there. Now, when you start making music, or if you already are making music, there will always inevitably be, particularly from people who aren't into music or creating music themselves, a kind of pressure to be successful or find an audience. And they could be very difficult things to do. And actually, if you are a hobbyist, you're basically committing yourself to not necessarily having to do that, which for me is great because I don't really have any interest in marketing. You'll notice that from the fact that I've got very few subscribers, and you're probably one of a handful of people who will ever find this video. But for me, there's a great personal value in just creating for the sake of enjoying the process, which, you know, I'm doing now, and that's what I'm doing with my music. So don't underestimate that, and don't allow other people to take the rug from underneath you from the basis that, oh, what's the point? No one's going to hear it, or it's, you know, it's never going anywhere. Well, that isn't the point, because if you enjoy making the product and trying, that's the point there. You know, there's millions of creative people writing poetry, making art that doesn't see the light of day. Arguably, it's a shame, but actually to those artists, if they're choosing not to do that, they're getting all they need to get out of what they're creating. So you can do that too. I'm not a massive fan of marketing. Being able to write or produce a piece of music, and plenty of musicians and artists, their social media sucks. And I think there's people who, if from times gone by, if they were coming up now and were having to use social media to promote their music, they wouldn't be the success stories they are, because back then your music could speak for itself. Now a lot of artists would argue you need to be doing certain things on social media. Actually, to be fair, there are plenty of successful artists who say that you don't, but I think more often than not, they've already established themselves at the point that they're removing themselves from social media rather than having never really engaged with it in the first place. So bearing in mind to verify yourself as an artist on Spotify, one of the key aspects you need is to be able to prove that you have access to the social media of the artist in question. Therefore, that's kind of a catch-22. There is a social media need for the account. How active you are with it, it's up to you. Look at my social media. So, I think there is value in putting things out there and not necessarily pushing them. There's a difference. So, you'll be surprised how easy people can be impressed by putting your music on Spotify, and you'll also be surprised at, I know I just alluded to this, how easy it is to put your music on Spotify. I can do another video on that in the future. Try to cut to the chase here. So, going back to the real reasons behind it, personally, I've had a couple of experiences where I have written songs and either put them out there on the basis of some kind of streaming platform or played them to groups of people, some kind of actual close friends, some wider kind of music critique groups or whatever. And I've had a couple of occasions where people have been truly touched by pieces of music I've written, not necessarily just in regards to the music itself, but finished pieces, lyrics, etc. And it gives you a real sense of achievement and accomplishment. There was one example where I had done a song based on an experience of some people I knew who were going through occasions of domestic abuse. I remember someone that heard it requested a copy from me to take to a group of people that they knew in which there was someone going through a similar circumstance, and they asked for a copy so that they could play it to someone going through a very similar situation to, I don't know, perhaps give some kind of cathartic process, or at least give another view on the situation. I was incredibly touched when that happened. There's been other pieces of music I've made where people have then made their own pieces of art or poetry or music based on those things, and that's incredible. I have made something creative that has led to other people making things creative. I've had my song sampled by other people as well. No, very few people have heard not only the thing that I made, but the thing that they made. But that doesn't matter, because those things exist now because of what I achieved through just enjoying what I was doing. And that's such an incredible feeling. So don't deny yourself that if it's something you're interested in. It's very easy to scare yourself out of doing things, and because the rewards might not be apparent or might seem a long way down the road. But actually the key thing is you don't know what the rewards are going to be. The best thing is to just do something and see what happens. You know, a true hobbyist will appreciate what happens when it happens without chasing appreciation or chasing an experience like that. I didn't write those songs with any agenda. In the same way that I don't make these videos with any agenda either. Other things to bear in mind is just because other artists are professional, it doesn't automatically mean that their music or their content is actually better than yours. Yes, granted, a fair amount of it may well be. You know, you have teams of writers nowadays. You have studios that cost millions. But the thing to remember is that music can be pretty simple and pretty stripped back. You know, if you look at a few examples, if we go all the way back to the Beatles and think something like Let It Be, very, very simple song. And then you think about See You Again, Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth. Charlie P. Those songs are very simple in their structure, but they were both massive hits. And there have been songs since and before and in between that rely on simplicity. It's not necessarily about being complex, and actually the best songs aren't always the most successful, and the most successful aren't always the best. Kind of the same thing. So don't be scared by the fact that other people have done songs before. Everybody's done everything before, but it doesn't mean you don't have the right to try and enjoy it yourself. I think the key things to take away from embarking, or kind of some people would call it resigning to be a musical hobbyist, and I don't think that you should think of it that way. Resigning seems like you're giving up on a dream, but actually it's about changing how you dream towards reality, and enjoying the reality that you've got. Remember, you don't need to know everything to make music. I definitely don't know everything. In comparison to peers of mine, they have far more technical knowledge than I do, but that doesn't give them any more right and me any less right to make music. So don't allow that to be an obstacle. Digital audio workstations, DAWs, they can be daunting, but again, you don't need to learn everything. Just start with something basic and go from there. That's what everyone does. And doesn't matter if the first thing you make is rubbish. Doesn't matter if the 10th thing you make is rubbish. If you've enjoyed making it, keep going, because you will get better. So just have realistic expectations of yourself. At the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. But the best thing is to go into it not expecting anything to happen, just putting it out there. And like I say, Spotify, it's easy and essentially free, provided you're willing to give up some of the royalties that you may get. And then you've got SoundCloud, Mixcloud, to name but a handful. Bandcamp is a great example as well. You can put things on for free, or people can pay what they want and they can own it, or they can stream it. You can start doing it whenever you want. Whatever age doesn't matter, and the kit doesn't matter. You can start with a laptop. There's free software out there that I can put a link up to to give you ideas of software that you can get started with, and then you can work your way up to using hardware or not. There are no real boundaries. I think the key thing is, if you're interested in it, don't let anything get in the way. Just start and see where it goes, because you'll either get something out of it or you won't. And if you do, keep going with it. Okay, that is my video for today. I hope for people out there who are into music or want to get into music, there's at least some reassurance there. And if you have any thoughts, stick some things in the comments and I will reply to them. If you've managed to find this video, which, as I've said, probably not very well marketed. But anyway, hope it's been of some use. I will be posting some more videos with actual production and feedback on some of my equipment and experiences soon. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. You've been the guys watching That Pete Guy. Goodbye.